Well, welcome everyone to the Public Speakers Association August Virtual Summit. And I'm excited to introduce our first speaker. So Fox Beyer is going to be our first speaker. And as a teacher, coach, and author, Fox enjoys helping people get the most out of themselves by sharing impactful stories. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to Fox. He can take it away.
Brian, thank you for the introduction, and I think it doesn't bear any repeating. I do want to share some wisdom with you all today that I've acquired through some life experiences and maybe some books I've read and podcasts I listen to for the benefit of you both personally and professionally. So it's great to have that platform today. I want to make this a little interactive. So the first thing I'd like you to do, if you're on here and on this Zoom, on the airwaves, in the chat, okay, right in the chat, I'm going to write this down, maybe a challenge you're experiencing. What are some of your challenges? Do you have a goal for yourself in the next calendar year? I'd like to know that. So challenges, goals. Which story to tell is your challenge, okay? When are you gonna do summer activities? Or wanting to do activities when I should be working? Good, Brian. Okay. Want to become an accredited speaker. All right. Thank you, Sundar. Thank you, Brian. And beyond this, what is the most difficult part of all of your challenges? I'd like to know that. You have a challenge, you have a goal. What do you think is or will be the most difficult part or portion of your challenge? Distilling down, okay? Thank you. Yes, breaking things down. Sustenance. I love that word. How to sustain, right? Your work, okay? Sustainable content, focus. Making it meaningful and understandable for the largest group of people that you can. Stephanie writes, who's my audience? Getting started and to become an accredited speaker. I hope in some way, shape, or form over the next little while, I can help you with that through some experiences that I've had and some content that I've jumped into over the last bunch of years. And again, thank you for all who contributed to the chat, as you see of my hand getting in front of the camera. So I'm an avid podcast listener and reader. And I wanted to tie in a recent podcast episode with a book I just finished reading in order to make a larger point to hopefully help you both personally and professionally. So the podcast that I've been really jumped into, it's called The Climb, and I'm going to write it in the chat. It is an acronym. C to the L to the I can get this, to the M to the B. I've got it. They're all caps. CLIMB. It stands for Creating Leverage in the Music Business. And to explain a little bit about that podcast, it has two hosts. One host, his name is Johnny Dwinell, and Johnny is a former touring artist. So this is a music business podcast. He is a touring artist who focuses, his perspective is the business side. He is a astute businessman. And the other host, his name is Brent Baxter. And Brent is an award-winning hit songwriter. and he focuses, or his perspective is the art and the craft of songwriting. And yes, a lot of these are focused on indie artist, how to grow your audience, how to get better at your craft. But this particular episode, I think, has a global impact. And the title of the episode, and I'm going to write it in the chat. It's episodes 285 and 287 of The Climb, if you ever get an inkling to listen to them. Yes, The Climb, CLIMB, like The Climb. And it should pop up on most streaming platforms. Yes. So the episodes are 285 and 287. And the title of the episodes both is What a Prose Songwriter Knows That You May Not. But it's more universal than that. And they share 5 or 6 mindsets that I'd like to share with you today, while tying them into this book, The Happiness of Pursuit. Not the pursuit of happiness, but the happiness of pursuit. And I'm going to put that in the chat as well. By Chris Guillebeau. And Chris Guillebeau, the author, is an entrepreneur, obviously an author, and he went on a quest. And his quest was to visit every country in the world before he turned age 35. It's funny how life works sometimes. I was reading a book on statistics to get prepared for a course I'm going to take in graduate school in the next calendar year, and it mentioned this book, a very intriguing title, and I'm glad I dove into it. So Chris, a man who did visit every country in the world before he turned age 35, shares his story and the stories of others that were on a bit on epic quests. And the ones that I want to focus on are the following. John Mad Dog Wallace. John Wallace, his quest, his goal was to run 250 marathons in a year. Not 250 miles, 250 marathons in a year. Okay. Secondly, Sasha Martin. Sasha, her goal was to embrace all of the countries around the world by their cuisine. So she wanted to make a dish from every country in the world for 193 to 195 straight weeks, according to how many countries there are in the world. Okay, there is the story of DJ Gregory, who's it's not in the book, but I think it's a good story to tell. He's a man who his goal was to walk every hole of every event on the PGA Tour for an entire season. Okay, I'm trying to think of anybody else that I had, right? And yes, and the story, of course, Chris Guillebeau himself. So I want to use those stories and tie them into these mindsets that I heard on the Climb podcast. Okay, so the Climb podcast, the title of the episode is What a Prose Songwriter Knows That You May Not. Okay, and number one, you have to endure. Right? Any quest that you're on, you're going to have to endure. As I like to say, the road to success is not paved. It is not smooth sailing. So if you take Chris Guillebeau's story, right, traveling to every country all over the world, if we know about flying, right, there are going to be cancellations and delays, scheduling snafus. In his case, maybe his visa isn't approved in time for him to go on a certain trip to visit a certain country. Talking about John Mad Dog Wallace running 250 marathons in a year. Well, and I haven't run marathons, but I've heard that, even the smoothest ones, past mile 18, it is a struggle which you will have to endure. And presumably, all the courses in marathons, they're different. Altitudes are different. Weather is different. Travel is going to be different to these places. So he's going to have to endure through all of those things, right? In the case of Sasha Martin, who uh, chose to, or was on a quest to cook a meal from every country all over the world, one per week, I think one of the things that she had to endure was, her schedule herself. As a wife and mother, she her schedule is not the same every single week. So maybe she couldn't cook that certain meal for that week until Sunday afternoon, right? So that's what she had might have to endure. Okay. And DJ Gregory's story, which is not in the Happiness of Pursuit, but it's something I think I need to share. He chose to walk every event on the PGA Tour for an entire season. Not only that, but like me, he has cerebral palsy. So when that condition, your muscles are entangled. And in DJ's case, his toes overlap. So the pressure on them with every step is tremendous. So before um, that day, walking that particular course for the event, he'd have to put 7 or 8 Band-Aids on his toes to reduce the pounding and the pressure that came with every step. So again, first, know that you'll have to endure on your quest. Number 2, this is a mindset offered in the Climb podcast. You have to be disciplined. Sometimes the only thing you control is a certain routine. All right. So in John Wallace's case, if he's running 250 marathons a year, he's likely, when he finishes a marathon, that he'll have to run one, if not the next day, the day after. So when he finishes the race, his mindset goes to, okay, what do I need to do in order to recuperate the best I can to be the most ready I can be for the next race, which may start tomorrow. Okay. Um, Secondly, right, Chris Guillebeau, he's traveling all over the world, right? When he's visited a few countries and he's done with one trip, when he lands, I'm sure the wheels start turning. What's the plan for the next trip? Where am I going in the next couple of weeks? And how many countries can I hit on this next trip? Let's start looking for flights, looking for lodging, and looking for a rental car. Right. And the same with DJ Gregory, right? He's walking over 900 miles, again, every hole on the PGA Tour for an entire season, right? He finishes one event, he's thinking about the next event, okay? Is my travel lined up? Is my lodging lined up? How am I going to get horizontal to rest my feet and my bones? What am I going to do physically to prepare for the next event, which is probably going to be in less than a week from today? All right. So again, number 1, you'll have to endure. Number 2, you have to be disciplined. Number 3, value relationships. This is all coming from the Climb podcast. Value relationships. They lead to useful information. Chris Guillebeau, he might be traveling in Germany and meet somebody there that has visited Norway before and gives him tips about solid, cheap lodging in Oslo, or maybe a great place, a great pub, or a great place for a bite to eat. Can give him ideas on that. He can also give him maybe ideas on a flight or two that help him in his trip. John Wallace, it's those marathoners that he's met at events that have run in events he's about to run in. So they can give him an idea about weather, terrain, and the course itself. So he'll know when he can push himself or back off so that he can finish those marathons in a time that is to his liking. Okay. Sasha Martin's story. Again, Sasha's trying to cook a meal for every country from all over the world, one meal per week for 195 weeks. You might ask, what can people do in her surrounding community? She's living in Tulsa, Oklahoma. How could they help her on her quest? Well, they might be natives of the country that she's cooking for that week. And they might be able to give her an idea on how to more efficiently make the meal and make it a little more tasty than it otherwise might have been. All right. So going back over, you have to endure, be disciplined, value relationships. They lead to valuable information and ultimately to results. Next, you have to adapt and endure on your adapt and adjust on your quest. Things are almost never going to go as planned. I referenced this before. In Chris Gilbo's case, we know traveling around the world, you're going to experience flight delays and cancellations and scheduling snafus. That is just part of the process. It is par for the course, right? Additionally, weather conditions. He's got to be prepared from previous relationships to know what kind of attire he can wear and be comfortable in those countries. In DJ Gregory's case, he's going to have to adapt to, the pounding on his body and the conditions of those courses. Sasha Martin's case, again, her schedule as a wife and mother is not the same every single week. She's got to work with and around that in order to make the dish of the week itself. It might not be on the same day. It might be, again, on a Sunday afternoon as opposed to a Monday morning. But she vowed to make it work, right? So be able to adjust and adapt. Again, John Wallace's case, not every marathon is the same. He's not going to feel the same. The course isn't going to be the same. The weather is not going to be the same. And the travel is not going to be the same. So he's going to have to, adjust and adapt. He might have to run some marathons on 3 or 4 hours of sleep instead of the recommended 8 hours of sleep that we should get to perform optimally. Right? Next, count the cost. Count the cost, not only from a financial sense, but from a sense in terms of time. How much time is this going to take? I have a friend, my best friend's dad always tells me, if you have time and you have money, you can have a baseline to accomplish a lot of things. But think about, all right, if you're traveling like Chris Gilbo, he's going all over the world, hotel and lodging, rental car, food, flights, all of these things. What is it going to cost? What's the blueprint, right? The same for DJ Gregory, right? Flying to all of these events, what is it going to cost? Flights and lodging and footwear. John Wallace's case, right? Flights, lodging, footwear, and overall just taking care of his body. That's all of these things are super, super important. What's the cost? And the final point I'm going to make today is, circling back again, this is combining the Climb podcast and the happiness of pursuit. They're both written in the chat to make a bigger point. Is what's the goal? What is your why? And the great book Start with Why by Simon Sinek. What is your why? Always have that in mind. In John Wallace's case, okay, he wanted to run 250 marathons in 1 year to raise a certain amount of money for his favorite children's charity. Right? Sasha Martin, she grew up as a little girl traveling, experiencing culture. But as she settled down, she got married and had kids and settled down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And she couldn't travel as much as she would like. So she decided to embrace culture around the world through cuisine. And she was very, very disciplined. She started at like Albania, all the way to Zimbabwe, A to Z, one a week, no excuses, no exceptions. And then in DJ Gregory's case, He wanted to walk every event of the PGA Tour for an entire season, over 900 miles, for personal satisfaction, to prove to himself that he could do something that, to that point, no one else had ever done. Okay, I want to make an offer, and the offer today, a couple of things. I have a book out called Adapt and Maintain Enthusiasm in Adversity, using the 5-step FACTS process. And if you just bear with me, I am going to pull up the link so you, if you'd like, could download it. Much easier to copy and paste it. Otherwise, I would probably screw it up. I am back. Okay. And if you'd like to download the ebook for free, the promotional code, all caps, free facts. You might say, what is it and what's in it for me? Well, it contains mindsets, okay, on how to adapt and maintain enthusiasm in adversity. It's just wisdom I've contracted over the years, and they're similar to the ones that I mentioned from the Climb podcast. Maybe they'll help you, okay, as a blueprint in your journey to success. Additionally, I have a podcast out. It's called What's Your Inspiration? And I'm going to write that in the chat as well. And what's your inspiration? It's about you, the interviewee, and the people and places that put you on a path that you're on today. If you have an inspiring story, I'd like you to share it with the world for the benefit of other people, both personally and professionally. Now, how do you contact me? It's through my website, foxbeyer.com. That's FOXBEYER.com, and we can start dialogue there. Again, I would love to have you on my podcast. So just as a review, the podcast is called The Climb. It's an acronym, CLIMB, Creating Leverage in the Music Business. The book is The Happiness of Pursuit by Chris Guillebeau. And the takeaways, right? In your pursuit, pursuing your goal, you to keep in mind, you have to endure, utilize relationships, stay disciplined, count the cost, be ready to adjust and adapt, and stick with your why. What is the purpose of you doing this? Okay, and the free offer is my book, Adapt and Maintain Enthusiasm in Adversity, using the FACTS 5-step process. A link to an offer of a free version is there in the chat. The promo code is all caps, one word, free facts, FREEFACTS. And the podcast is What's Your Inspiration? If you'd like to be on and have an inspiring story to tell, I'd love to get some dialogue started. The website is foxbeyer.com, and that is also in the chat. Okay, Brian, thank you again for this platform, and I will talk to you all very, very soon. Take good care.
All right, thanks, Fox. Does anyone have any questions that they have for Fox?
Bring them on.
Go ahead and unmute yourself and fire away.
See where am I at?
So how long have you been doing this, Fox?
Luana, is that Luana Parker?
It's Luana.
Luana, I haven't been doing it long enough. I guess, so Luana and I, Luana Parker is a great PSA member and a talented speaker and author. So big up to her. She is my West Coast mother. She has guided me through this process. Um, we first became friends back in 2016 at the convention, and I probably started doing all of this using the public speaking platform in the late 2015, early 2016. To answer your question,
I'm very proud of you. I have seen you grow over the years, and it's just amazing. So congratulations.
thank you. And again, like I told you this morning in an email, thank you for your constant support. It means a lot, and I love you to death. I really do.
Yeah.
Fox, Barney Kramer.
Hi, Barney, another former
I don't,
guest of my
I don't,
podcast. Barney,
yeah, I don't
how
see
are
anybody
you?
else jumping in, so I apologize if I,
That's okay.
you and I, you started about the same time I did, and I had to go in another direction to get some of my products and services going the way I wanted. But wow, what an exciting opportunity, because I haven't heard you in probably 3 or 4 years on it, and I loved your story and what you overcome to be able to do what you wanted to do in life, and that in itself is just a monster. Kudos to you, Fox. So what a great, wow, like two different human beings. we were both trying to find where the trail was when we started 5 or 6 years ago. So great. Just thank you
That,
so much for your story. I loved it, and I'm gonna connect with you here. I wanna chat with you again. So thank you, Brian. Thank you for having Fox on the show. That's great.
Barney, you're awesome. If I could just share a story about Barney very quickly. He, as a guest on my podcast, he's a very quotable man, and I think he quoted Popeye on my podcast. I am what I am. That's all that I am, and I hope it's a good I am.
Yeah. I'm not very original, but I remember all the wonderful sayings in life. So.
Well, that stayed with me for the past 5 years, and I grew
That's
up with
funny.
Popeye. I
That's a
did.
good memory.
Yeah. I am what I am. That's all that I am, and I hope
What
it's a
I
good I
am.
am.
Yeah,
That's a tongue twister.
that's a good one. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Fox, I really enjoy learning about endurance sports athletes. Have you heard of the Iron Cowboy?
Yes, I have. Yes,
All
I
right.
have. I'm not
Cowboy.
Yeah, the
totally
Iron Cowboy. He's done 50 Ironmans in 50 states in 50 days.
Oh, wow.
My goodness.
And then he recently did 100 Ironmans in 100 days. He didn't travel all over. He did them all in the same place, and that's very impressive.
Yeah. Just
Wow.
the absolute will of the human spirit, right?
Yeah.
And it begins with a vision, and then it turns into a plan, and then you put it into action. It's crazy. And he's someone I need to weave into another another talk as well.
So, Fox, I do have a question for you. What it takes more than just an idea. What was it an idea? And I missed just the first couple of minutes of it. What did you do? How did you take that idea? And I'm sure most of us have them mulling around in our head, and finally turned it into something. What was the final thing that said, "I'm going to do this"?
In terms of the talk today, Barney?
Well, just in terms of your whole business life, I mean, you've had lots of challenges in your life, and there's something in there, something inside of you that, for me, I just never had enough brains to quit, frankly. So I kept doing it. So I wasn't going to get. As I tell people, they're not going to take me alive. So, but I know we all have different inspirations. Would you share yours with us, please?
Sure. My inspirations in terms of using this platform really were spawned out of from my dad, who he's not going to admit this, but he is just a brilliant natural speaker. And then my time in baseball. I've been around a lot of people who are brilliant speakers in their own right. And I used what I took from them, their best qualities, and had this platform. I had this story. I'm this kid with an entangled body, And
Mhm.
I found that I had a story to tell. There was some meat on the bone that could possibly help people. So
Mhm.
I used wisdom that I drew from my dad and my coaches and my mentors in order to tell my story for the benefit of other people. So that's
Yeah.
how those things intertwined. It began with a book of poetry that I had published in 2015, and I wasn't quite sure how to promote it or even get
Mhm.
people possibly want to read it. So I started going to these open mics and reciting these poems. And I thought, well, wow, I really, really enjoy this. Maybe I can weave these poems into stories about my life. And that's kind of how it started.
Yeah. That's a great inspiration. You
Thank
make another point in that in the process of explaining that, and I think a lot of us think that somehow we need this a flash of light to get us to take that next step. When in truth, and that it has to be original. And I never wanted to be the person that copied somebody else, but I think it's a real tribute to be able to incorporate a little bit of those really quality characters that we find in our life. And, you know, you were one of those that touched me early on, and I was in a spot where I was struggling with my business at that time as well. And yet, I like to see what can I learn from every individual that I encounter in life that I can make a part of my story. And I want it to be their story, but I like to give credit where credit is due on it. And so I would encourage anybody that's not quite sure. I don't know who's on the show, and that's fine and dandy. But anybody that's questioning whether or not they have what it takes, I think you have to give yourself a lot of credit for it and say, how can I weave my experiences, my learning and knowledge? Because I guarantee you,
Yes.
I'm my age, I've been here for a while, so I picked up a lot of it. I'm starting to forget things that I learned 50, 60 years ago. And that's okay, you know.
Google Docs, Google
I'm
Docs.
glad
Join
to
the
have lived
club,
this
Never
long.
Barney.
know.
Yeah.
Join the club. I,
Yeah, hi,
I
Luana.
just want to say that Fox is an inspiration to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I listened to his TED talk, and I found it so interesting how he weaved
Mhm.
the things
Mhm.
that he had to go through coming up, and
Mhm.
he didn't feel sorry for himself.
Yeah.
He used those as learning lessons,
Yeah.
and he just kept right on going. He never gave up,
Yeah.
and to me, that's just very inspirational. If you haven't heard this talk, you need to go to YouTube and listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I
All
don't. I
right.
actually
Thank you,
don't
Luana.
think I
Thank you.
have, and I'm going to do that. I didn't realize you'd given one. I've been so engrossed in my own issues here that I haven't paid attention to a lot of good friends for a while, and I'm about to change that. And PSA,
Life is
by
what
the way,
happens when
is a
you're
good
making
place to
plans.
start with.
Well,
It
thanks,
is.
Barney and Luana. And of course, thanks, Fox. It's time for us to, we're overtime. It's time to move on.
All right.
All
Super.
right.
Thank y'all.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. So, yeah, as I said, it's time to move to our next speaker. So I want to introduce Kim Glass. Kim is a TEDx and award-winning speaker, soft skills consultant, and four-time best-selling author. Kim has also been recognized as a finalist for Women in Technology, Best Business Connector in Dallas, and an honoree by the International Association of Women. She has been featured in various magazines and several books, such as Habit One for Women Action Takers, How Entrepreneurs Leap and Find Success, and Momentum, 13 Lessons from Action Takers Who Changed the World. So it's time to hear from Kim Glass, and I'll let her take it away. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. It's so great to see you all today. I actually have a presentation, but my computer is acting up a little bit. So I'm just going to speak from my heart and share some information with you that may help you on your speaking journey while you're out there networking. So I love the chat feature here. So I would love for it to be interactive. And so I want to share with you how to take your speaking platform from a whisper to roar. How many of you would like to roar in your speaking? Will you just comment in the chat? We like to roar. So I want to share with you how to create your community of roaring fans. So if you would for me today, just put either a question mark or an exclamation mark in the chat just to let me see, how do you feel when you either hear the word networking or while you're out there networking? When you're out either on Zoom or in person, do you feel like a question mark and you're just really not sure what to say, how to say it? You're in your head about it, or you really wish you could just fade into the wall? Or do you feel like an exclamation mark, like, oh my goodness, look at the opportunities in this room that I have the pleasure to meet, to learn more about them, be curious about them, and begin building a relationship? So when you think about networking, are you a question mark or are you an exclamation mark? I would just love to get your feedback on that. Thank you guys for responding. So I want to share with you, so I've been networking for as long as I can remember. In my neighborhood, growing up at the early age of 8, 9, 10, I had a lemonade stand on the curb outside my house. How many of you in the chat ever had a lemonade stand or sold something directly from your home, and you had that love for blessing those drivers that came by with a nice cold glass of lemonade? Well, that's how I got started. And I love the thrill of not only having my lemonade stand at my curb, but we had other friends in the community, and we would have a lemonade day where we would have 3 or 4 friends on their street selling lemonade. And so what I so enjoyed, besides serving my customers, is to let them know my friends down to the next block also had a lemonade stand. So when you think about networking and you think about meeting other people, you know, think about that they could be your customer and be so thrilled that you showed up to network with them, or that they become your perfect referral source that learns about you and refers other to you. So that love, riding around at the age of 12 on my mini bike in my neighborhood, had me selling Girl Scout cookies and had me selling Marchathon, you know, a cost per mile for my walk. I sewed wrapping paper, whatever it was. I made the rounds in my neighborhood and I stayed connected with my friends and my neighbors. Well, lo and behold, many years later, when I entered the corporate world in telecom, I became the go-to person to go to the networking events, at the chamber event, at the special events, and meet other connections, bring the business cards back to the office, and then sit with our executives and decide who we wanted to call in to have one-on-one conversations with, and then they would turn those relationships eventually into sales. So when you think about networking, think about sharing versus selling first. You know, we want to build that relationship. And that is what I have found all through my life, just by being myself, sharing whatever I'm doing, and then those sales come in. And so whether I'm speaking to an audience of millennials like I did at the University of Houston, or I'm speaking at various events, or I'm even speaking here today, a lot of the same conversation comes up. And so I want to share with you along my journey the 5 common networking myths. The first one is, I don't know anyone. Like, why would I go to this networking event because I don't know anyone? The second one is I'm too busy to attend. The third one is I'm not a good salesperson. The fourth one is the people that I meet at these networking events, they never call me back. And the fifth one is, and I hear this more often than you can even imagine, the cost is too high for a chicken lunch. Now, I got to tell you, these same myths are what I hear consistently. Over the last 30 years, those are the 5 things that I have heard from not only my networking, but also producing networking events across the country. And so when you think about those myths that you hear, what is one that maybe you've thought before and then you shifted? Or what is it that you hear? You know, are you too busy to attend? Are you looking at what the menu is? What is that thing that maybe blocking you from attending a certain event? You know, are you not showing up on Zoom because you just don't feel like it? I would love for you to input just some things that for us all to look at. Maybe you're not dealing with it today, but maybe you have in the past, if you would share that. You know, there was this popular song that came out, I believe it was the 80s or 90s by Lionel Richie, and he says, "Hello, is it me you're looking for?" How many of you remember that song? I love that song, and I love to share that when I talk about networking, because hello, is it leads you're looking for? Is it leads for your business? Is it leads for your speaking? What is that thing that you're looking for where the people that would be curious to know about you and how you offer, where are they hanging out? So when we think about face-to-face networking, I know that we've had some challenges within the last year, and it's so great to see so many live events coming back. But when you think about face-to-face networking, you know, you can move through that conversation. They say over 90% faster in person than what could happen online, because it takes a little, like, you immediately connect with people when you're in person with them, whereas online, it may take you just a little bit longer to build that relationship. So when you think about face-to-face networking, we've all heard this before, but know me, like me, and trust me. Those are the initial conversations when you're doing face-to-face networking. And what I love the best about this know me, like me, trust me is the trust me. You see, we often think about the other person trusting us to take the step, say yes for your product or service. But what I want to share with you today is that trust is like a two-way street, because I've seen it over and over again. When people are not confident in themselves and their business, or they may feel even a little bit invisible in their networking, you know, they start letting doubt creep in. And whether it's said or not, when you're on that one-on-one, your next biggest client could be feeling that you have a lack of confidence, and that makes them waver and not take the first step to engage in your product or service. So when you think about trust me, make sure when you're networking that you, beyond anyone else, fully trust in yourself. And you have that confidence when you're out there networking, that you know your product, you know your service, you know that next speaking opportunity that you're looking for, because your speaking is your story or your expertise of how you help other people. It's so powerful when we can trust ourselves. And the next thing is, where are you networking? I can't tell you how many networking events that I've been on this last year through Zoom. I was actually on 5 networking events in one day last week. Well, why is that? because I've built relationships with people through networking. They're either launching an event, they're having a networking event, or they're looking for speakers to share with their audience. And so as a speaker, be sure that you're about open opportunities and look for those opportunities that are coming your way. You know, the Chamber of Commerce, there's civic organizations, there's industry organizations, and there's fabulous organizations and associations just like today through the Public Speakers Association. Like, who wouldn't want to be a part of PSA and you're a speaker? This is a great platform, just like today, for us to share our expertise about what are we speaking about and how can we support this organization? How can we support Brian? And how can we support other speakers that are thinking about speaking, just getting started, or maybe they're very seasoned professionals? How can we come together as a group and support each other? And that's why I am so passionate about PSA and the great work that Brian is doing. This is just another aspect of the power of association. So when we think about those common myths that I mentioned earlier, what if your perspective changed in these areas? Instead of, I don't know anyone, what if you attend a networking event knowing that you don't know anyone, but you think, who am I going to meet today? I just want to meet 2 idea clients today, and I'm going to show up to network. How would that perspective shift for you and give you your voice to take your speaking from a whisper to roar by meeting new people? Because I will tell you, the people that you know today are very unlikely to be the connections to take you to that next level unless you are connecting with impactful and trustworthy referral sources. So how would that shift for you? I'm too busy. You know what? I got to tell you, we're all very busy. And we are probably busier than ever, especially after the last year. However, when you think about networking and you think about marketing, if you can shift that perspective of, I'm never too busy to not market for myself. And if I'm not marketing for myself and I'm not being out there showing up where my potential clients, connections, and referral partners are, then what am I doing in my business? The third one is, I'm not a good salesperson. Well, in the chat, tell me yes or no. Do you have children? Do you have a child? Do you have multiple children? How many do you have? Share with us in the chat. Because what I will tell you, as a parent, I have 1 daughter, and I will tell you, I am a good salesperson because she has taught me to say no, and then she begins negotiating. So when you think about that you're not a good salesperson, that's one example. You know you're a good salesperson if you have children, because they teach us about negotiation. The next one is, the people that I meet never call me back. You know, a lot of times we can take that personally. And that's where we begin to doubt, is what I'm doing, is what I'm speaking about, is what I'm doing in my business really what I should be doing? I encourage you, if you have a passion and you're fired up about your expertise, how you help other people, and what your speaking platform is, you will be the glue and you will be the leader to reach out to those people and not expect them to come to you first. I see it all the time. People start taking things personally. And when you do, you will get your brain into what I call a pretzel, because you're thinking something that that other person is not thinking. And guess what? Oftentimes those people are thinking the same thing. Oh, I met this person. I really loved her business and her energy, and she has not called me back. I encourage you to be the leader of your business, get in the driver's seat of your speaking, and be that glue, because that person is waiting to hear from you. And in a world of texting and emailing and voicemail and messaging, pick up the phone. You have an awesome opportunity, if you get their voicemail, to leave the biggest supersized Super Bowl commercial. So don't be intimidated by that. Leverage your power and your passion to be the glue to reach out to those people. And the cost is too high for a chicken lunch myth. Let me tell you, it is not about the chicken. It is not about the lunch. If you're going to a networking event, it's costing you $20, $35, $97, $150. How does the perspective of shifting that cost to what one ideal client for your business would do for you? Do you charge more than $20, $35, $97, or $150 in your product or service? I bet you do. And so if you can get into a Zoom room, or you can get into a networking event, and you can meet and connect and share and get curious enough about the other people, that chicken lunch expense and that networking expense will not even be in your mind, because you are on a mission. You are on a mission to help other people in your expertise and how you help them as a speaker. So getting started on networking, do you have clarity about your speaker introduction? Do you have a story that would resonate for people? I have to tell you, when I came out with my story, and you see my book behind me, I was born and raised in a religious cult, and it took me 35 years to escape that atrocious bullying and evil environment. And when I thought about writing my book, I actually had the title 15 years before my book came out, because I didn't want to just tell my story. I wanted to help people move through fear with courage. And I wanted to provide the roadmap of people to do that. Would the majority of people understand my story? Would I be ridiculed and think, my God, why is she sharing this story? I have absolutely no idea what she's been through, so I can't even relate to it. I could have thought all of those things, but what I have found is that 84% of people, even prior to the pandemic, live with an irrational fear that's holding them back in their personal or their business life. So let me tell you, I am an expert beyond any shadow of a doubt of helping people break free from fear. That is my story. That is my passion. Because guess what? Sometimes we don't even know that we are feeling a fear. It's kind of like driving your car, and there's a blind spot of a car beside you that you don't even see. How many of you have ever noticed that there's a car in your blind spot while you're driving down the road? Share with us in the chat. Yes, you've seen those things, or no, you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. Fear can hold you back. And what I want to share with you today as a speaker, again, to reiterate, get in the leadership driver's seat of your business and your life, because more than ever, whatever you're speaking about, people are hungry for inspiration, motivation, just to get started and take the first step on their journey. And you could be the person that nudges them to that first step. So I encourage you to use and build your voice. It may be shaky at first. The words may not come out. You may even stutter a little bit. We've all done those things. And you know what? We're perfectly imperfect, but we can get started in sharing our message. Do you have a clear expertise about what it is that you're sharing? And are you keeping your story simple? You know, do people know your name? Do they know how you help their audience by speaking and sharing your story and your expertise? And then are you sharing what you're looking for? You know, not all of us may be keynote speakers. We may be workshop speakers. We may be retreat hosts. There are so many modalities that you can build upon in your speaking. So in the chat, share with us, what are you looking for? Are you looking for keynote speaking? Are you looking for a workshop? Are you looking to fill a workshop? Are you an event producer and you're looking for speakers? Or is there something different? If you could share with us, that gives us all a great idea of what you're looking for and how we can help you make that connection. Again, another powerful aspect of PSA. Like, what a great community that we have where we can support people that are doing even the same things that we are. And I will tell you, there's plenty for us to go around and to share. And then how can your connections best connect with you? When you're out there networking, you know, are you getting their business card? Are you emailing them? Are you connecting with them on Facebook? I tell you, one of the secrets that I use when I'm meeting people, I'm like, oh, we've got to stay connected. I've got my phone here. What's your phone number? I'm going to put you in my phone and I'm going to send you a text. I'm going to put my name in there so that we can stay connected. Did you know over 90% of your texts on your phone are opened up? 90% of texts are opened up. So I want to share that tip with you. One of the most powerful things about face-to-face networking and building your community of roaring fans is how these people genuinely and passionately want to know about you, want to know about your journey, want to know where you're transitioning in your business so that they can help you. Over 30 years ago, when I was networking at the Chamber of Commerce, I met a wonderful lady named Deb. She was a sales consultant. She was a speaker. And when I became an entrepreneur after leaving the telecom industry and after meeting her, all these years we have stayed connected. I used to get her speaking gigs in sales. She had written a book. She had programs. She had so much helpful information to help people build their sales. And guess what? She's referred me to other people now that I'm a speaker and have been a speaker, but I started sharing my story just 6 months before the pandemic. I was on a national book tour that went virtual last year, but she has been a constant referral of connecting me with other people. And not too long ago, she introduced me to a girl named Whitney. Little did I know that not only was Whitney in direct sales, but she had a women's small business networking group. And there I stood on her stage speaking to over 50 women, helping them to take their business and voice from a whisper to roar. That's the power of staying connected and building your connected community. Some other examples were 10 years prior. I had a lady that introduced me to a speaker. She was a speaker for one of my events. And 2 years later, she was the event producer for a TEDx. And there I was in less than a year standing on the TEDx stage, sharing how to break free from generational patterns to create an unlimited future. That was someone that I had met 10 years previously, but we had stayed connected and watched each other along the journey. And then she started hearing about my story and thought my story would be a great idea worth sharing on the TEDx stage. Fast forward, 6 months before the pandemic, I was at the CBS studio in Washington, D.C., sharing my story. I've spoke to Rotaries clubs about helping not only the Rotary members, but the students that they sponsor that are in high school to learn about networking. And so all of these connections that I have built by networking has, they see me out there networking, and the same for you. Who do you know and who are you keeping up with that you can share your speaking with? So when we think about online networking, it's a little bit different than face-to-face, but online is about engage me, educate me, and entertain me. How many of you love the TikTok videos, or you enjoy getting engaged and finding out, oh, I've got this, I bought this new backpack for my business, or I've got this new purse, or look at these new shoes that my friend is selling. Those are other ways that we can connect with people and also join groups out on the various platforms when we're out there online networking and building those relationships. It's so important, and especially nowadays, to be consistent. You are your brand. And when you're online, how are you showing up? How consistent are you with the things that you love and building your business? And how is your messaging staying consistent? Reflect who you are as someone who would want to do business with you and refer others with you. The power of online networking is so incredible when you can tap into where your ideal clients are hanging out. I have a story of my friend Nicole. We met 10 years ago, but 7 years ago, she invited me for lunch, and we went to that sushi lunch. And I share about how that sushi lunch and me showing up to find out what she was doing and supporting her in her business, I actually grew an online selling a product that has achieved over 8 million in sales. That all came from online networking with no paid advertisement. The power of online networking is incredible to help you grow and build your business. And then I just want to share with you, when we're talking about where are our ideal clients hanging out, here's just some fun facts about social media. So if you're on LinkedIn, I would love for you to put your LinkedIn information in the chat so that we can all stay connected. We're part of PSA, but let's stay connected and share with each other. So if you'll post your LinkedIn link so that we can all save our chat at the end of this fabulous event, so that we can even stay more connected. The average monthly time of a user on LinkedIn is 17 minutes. So when you think about that and you think about the audience that is hanging out there, your message has to be very quick and simple, because those people are only out there for 17 minutes. Facebook, there's over 40 million small business owners that have business pages. Are you connected with them? Do you need to connect with them? Instagram has over 25 million businesses marketed. And I love the fact that pizza is the most food posted about. How many of you like pizza? Yay! Twitter, 79% of the users are based outside of the United States. Now more than ever, can you speak in another country through Zoom? I bet you can. Your people are hanging out in Twitter. And YouTube, a fabulous platform for speakers, because the average viewing session is 40 minutes. That's a workshop. That's about the average time that you would be speaking anywhere. So do you have your YouTube channel? So just some final thoughts. Show up when you're networking. 80% of your success is about showing up. Support your connected community. Share and collaborate within your community. We've mentioned it over and over, but your fortune is truly in the follow-up. Did you know 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect? What if your next speaking gig is in your follow-up? So I'd love to connect with you further. I will type my information. I'm Kim with a Y. It's Kim Glass. My website is kimglass.com. And I am I'm producing an event in Houston on Saturday, October the 23rd. It's going to be a full day of the Whisper to Roar Business Conference and Expo. I would love to connect with you, share more information about that. I'm so honored to be here to share with you today. Thank you, Brian. I am passionate about helping others take their business and voice from a whisper to roar. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. And I'm sorry, we're a little over time, so we got to move on. And it is my pleasure to introduce our next guest, our next speaker. So Jill Lublin is the international.
Brian,
Yes.
Brian, before you do that, would you make Mary Beth co-host?
I already did.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
All right. Okay, so Jill is an international speaker on the topics of radical influence, publicity, networking, kindness, and referrals. She is the author of 4 best-selling books, including Get Noticed, Get Referrals, and co-author of Guerrilla Publicity and Networking Magic. Her latest book, Profit and Kindness, went #1 in 4 categories. Jill teaches a virtual publicity crash course and consults and speaks all over the world. She also helps authors to create book deals with major publishers and agents, as well as obtain foreign rights deals. So the time is now yours, Jill. Take it away.
Well, thank you. And it is so great to be here with all of you today and to see my good friends, my clients on here. And thank you, Brian, for putting this together. The power of your message, the power of publicity is that it creates a magnetization factor. It monetizes you, it multiplies you, and creates that visibility that you deserve. So my friends, as a speaker, as a business owner, you gotta blow your own horn and make it so that others are hearing you and seeing you and connecting to you so that you can be, look at the screen, the star that you are. And I want to give you today some very focused, simple ways that you can create that visibility factor to up-level who you are and connecting to the others that are going to be your clients, your prospects, and, you know, frankly, build your trust. You know, my friend P.T. Barnum said it best, and that is a terrible thing happens without publicity. Nothing. So write this down, my friends. Publicity equals influence equals impact, right? Publicity equals influence equals impact. And that's what publicity does for you. That's what publicity does for you. All right, so let's move on. The power that we're looking at is telling you what does it do for you? Well, it's going to give you high ROI. It's going to increase your prospects. It's going to give you more sales and more credibility, more visibility, more trust in the marketplace, and more clients, my friends. Everybody wants that. And here's the super great thing. It's also going to save you money because you're not spending a lot of extra money on, well, Google ads and Facebook ads and expensive things, all of which, by the way, I think are good. But I want you to get that free publicity, which is what publicity does for you. It also gives you more exposure in the marketplace. And I only mean the good kind. So with that, and with that influence and impact you're going to have, I want you to plant your publicity garden. And I want you to start planting your seeds now. Okay, because there's a lot of super great things that are in the news right now. We'll tell you some of them in just a moment that you could be being part of. And then I want you to plant your seeds for 3, for 6, and for 9 months ahead. Yes, you're looking ahead. Because, when I wrote Guerrilla Publicity, this is my 3rd edition. We've sold over 85,000 copies, my friends, because I do practice what I preach. And I make sure that what I'm telling you today is going to work for you in the business of speaking, in the business of getting your name out there, and for the publicity that's going to serve you the best. But Entrepreneur Magazine, for instance, and I'll show you a slide, but she was talking about, listen, you've got to be consistent and persistent in the marketplace. Now, I want to show you some really tactical, practical ways to get your message out there. And interestingly enough, look at the word message. Look at that on the screen. Do me a favor, type in the chat. What are the first 2 letters of the word message? Go ahead, type it in the chat. And yes, it's the word me. Okay, now do me a favor, type in the chat. What are the last 4 letters of the word message? Go ahead, put it in the chat. What are the last 4 letters of the word message? Yes, thank you. It is sage. In the word message is me, sage. In the word message is also mess. We want to avoid that, my friends. And I'm going to give you super easy ways, affordable, to get your name out there and do it the quick, beautiful way that Guerrilla Publicity provides, in a way that's systematic. So here's the formula. You want to identify what's the problem today. What's the problem today? That's what's needed. And then you want to give 3 solutions. And keep them really easy. You know what I notice about many people, especially speakers and trainers, people just like you who are smart, is that you want to give too much information. And I want you to give like appetizers, not full meals. I want you to deliver powerful, simple ways that people can, well, fill in the blank. Like Luana, my wonderful client, how they can journal, right? And great ways to journal. Kim, how they can network effectively and network for success. Yeah, so fill in the blanks with what your problem solution is and what it is that people can do in order to, well, you tell us. Like, let me give you mine, okay? Because this will give you thousands of dollars of PR advice in very simple ways. Are you ready? Yes, yes. Okay, we are going to shake, rattle, and roll. And here's my message. I hope you're taking notes because I'm about to give you great PR advice. So the problem today is 4 out of 5 businesses are going out of business because you have no clue how to create publicity without spending a fortune. I want to give you 3 guerrilla publicity tips today for how to get your message in the media. The first way to get noticed is to create your ooh, ah factor. The second way is to create the I've heard of you somewhere syndrome. And the third way is focus on networking magic and show up in your communities at least twice a month for name and face recognition. Now, my friends, you notice that was really simple. It was appetizers, not full meals, but giving you lots of things to think about and actually to do in the wonderful world of publicity. And most importantly, I took 25 years plus of publicity knowledge and condensed it into simple, easy language. And that's what you want. See, because speakers in particular, you know what you do? No offense, but you want to tell people what you speak about. You want to give all the information. And I want you to sprinkle great information. I want you to give value and benefit. And I want you to give sound bites that people will remember. Let's go ahead next. So one of the things I told you was to create your ooh, ah factor. Ah, yes. Let me show you how to do that. These are some great examples because you got to use everything you've got. So one of my clients who's a speaker, and she's also a psychologist. And I have to tell you, when the quarantine hit, I said to her, forget everything we've done about the power of other things that we've talked about for you as a speaker and putting your name out there. Let's do a story about how to communicate in the quarantine. And that, my friends, got her on WGN Chicago, huge radio station, got her 5 media outlets in the first week of being the quarantine Cupid. Use everything you've got. A woman I'm working with who is a communication coach, is a speaker, and let's wait on this for a moment. She is a speaker, communication coach, and I said to her, listen, the truth is we were doing a great story about how to communicate effectively in these times. And then Black Lives Matter happened, burst onto the scene, and I said to her, forget everything we're doing. Let's have you talk about being a strong Black woman and how to communicate with confidence in troubled times. And that's the story that got her a huge amount of publicity and got her more well-known as a speaker, got her speaking engagements, and created that visibility factor that you all want. Then I have an interior designer client, and she also actually uses speaking as a way to grow and build her business. And we were doing things about, she was actually speaking about how to create your home so that you can sell it quickly and make it beautiful to sell. Well, and then the lockdown happened. And of course, as we know, we had kids in home with new stations they had to be building, and with workstations that we had to multiple people in a home-based space. And she was the woman that kept it out there about how to create a home that worked for everyone. And that story, my friends, got her into real estate sections and multiple places and spaces that grew her speaking business and got her the kind of clients that she wanted. So it's using everything you've got. It's recreating your message so that it works in the time for what it works. So I want you to, keep your, look at that, PR antennas up and let's see what really works for a time like this, okay? We're going to give you some great ideas in just a moment, because actually, look at the screen, take a picture of this, because I've done some research and here are the hot topics that are working right now. Health and mental health. Listen, Simone Biles, how about that? Anybody who speaks on mental health, transformation mindset, you could be commenting about that story right now. Weight loss is always a big story. Goals, reaching them. Activism like Black Lives Matter, or one woman who is in my recent virtual publicity course, and I'll tell you about that in just a bit. She is Filipino. And I remember saying to her, she owns a digital marketing agency. She's been trained by Les Brown. She's a speaker. And I said to her, let's get you out for Stop Asian Hate. And that, my friends, is the story that actually got her into lots of great media, got her 3 speaking engagements that week, and actually grew her digital marketing agency because, frankly, she got 9 clients, actually prospects immediately, that turned into 4 clients quickly. Yeah, that's the kind of solutions I'm talking about. And actually, she got 3 speaking engagements from that. Right? From going out for Stop Asian Hate, even though it had nothing to do with her exact digital agency. So I just want you to really hear this, that you're going to use everything you've got. Alternative healing is big in trends that are happening right now. Real estate is big. Consulting, because, frankly, there are a lot of people quitting their jobs. They're becoming consultants. Maybe you, as a consultant, as a speaker, can give and pave the way for others. And then there's the money conversation. If you're doing anything about money, helping people with it, I think, Barney, you're doing some things in that arena. That could be something that you could be a media spokesperson for and help others with. most of you on this that I'm seeing are consultants. Most of you might have something to do around money, and many of you are in the mindset and transformational space. So I hope that's helped you to look again for great ways that you could be putting your name out there. All right, I want to show you some really super easy things, completely free, for how to get your name out there. I call them VBAs, which stands for Visibility Building Activities. Check it out. You can network in your community, just like we're doing here through the Public Speakers Association. Network, show your face, right? Thank you for providing this as an opportunity to network in our community. You can follow reporters on social media, people who are doing the things that you're interested in. Like, let's say you speak on leadership, type in the word leadership and see who's talking about that. Same thing with Google Alerts. So put in, let's say you speak on leadership, just making that up, and you would go into Google Alerts, put in the word leadership. Brian, you would put in the word speakers and sign up for Google Alerts. And then also, because you're a speaker and sometimes people feature you, you would be also putting your name in Google Alerts. And that's really important. I'm going to tell you, I did an actual segment on ABC TV in Dallas. Why did I do that? So talk about, trending things and all that fun stuff. Well, you might remember that Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben's changed their names, right? And so I got asked to speak about that from a Dallas TV station. And that was on Zoom. And well, I couldn't find it on ABC TV Dallas. So because I'm registered under Jill Lublin for Google Alerts, up it popped the next day, my ABC TV segment in Dallas, Texas, all edited together and looking good, right? Which I could then reuse, because write this down, you want to publicize your publicity. That all happened because of Google Alerts. Now, I also want y'all to go to nationaldaycalendar.com, look to see what holidays might be relevant for you. One of my speakers did this, and he said, he's so cute. He said, hey, I got into the media because of July 4th in the United States, Independence Day. He said, you know why, Jill? Because you taught me to use everything I've got and to use the holidays. So I noticed it was not only July 4th, which he got into, but he got into, check this out, National Hot Dog Day. He goes, why National Hot Dog Day? Because I'm a parent, I feed my kids hot dogs, and I use that. And he got great media, which drove people to book him as a speaker, because it's about that visibility factor. It's about creating everything you've got. Now, I want you also to go to iTunes and put in, again, keywords, whether it's leadership or business. If you're speaking on business, put in the word business, any topic on business, and see who's doing podcasts that are featuring people in business. Then go to Blog Talk Radio and do the same thing. And helpareporter.com is a super great place for you to also be getting that increased visibility. Okay, these are all completely free strategies, and I absolutely think it'll be a powerful way for you to get your message out. Okay, let's keep going here. So excited to keep presenting to you different ways that you could create that visibility factor that gets you out there. I want to show you how I did it for the Profit of Kindness, okay? So as much as I love to tell you that, wow, I got great publicity, which I did. Look at the bottom third of that screen. That's a third of some of the publicity we got. Literally 7 Fox News TV interviews in the first 8 days, right? 75 radio podcasts and counting, still booking them all the time. Inc. magazine twice and Forbes Small Business twice. And my friends, that happened because I pushed the right button, right? I pushed the right button. I'm putting my finger into the camera and pushing the right button, as I want you to, because the power of publicity lies in finding the right message. It wasn't about a book. It was about our divided states of America. And that, my friends, is the power of publicity. So here's the thing. God planted a seed in my heart when Prophet of Kindness came out. And that was to do literally a year of kindness. And we now have kindness circles where we come together and we give and exchange referrals. We give leads to each other. We have amazing people, thought leaders like Bob Berg, the Go-Giver, and a former Harlem Globetrotter who's doing a kindness initiative, who come in and do super easy kindness initiatives based on what they know. And then we give and receive, because what I want you to create is conscious acts of kindness. So I'm inviting you to our year of kindness. It's super easy, super fun. We've got a super affordable launch price for you for the whole year and our kindness summit. So we're posting in the chat how you can join us. You go to jilllublin.com/year of kindness. All right. And it'd be great to have you interchange with us every single month. Now, here's the thing about the power of publicity. And I want to show you what Entrepreneur Magazine said. When I interviewed them for Guerrilla Publicity, they said a lot of things, but here's the two things I want you to hear. Remember in the beginning, I told you plant your seeds. Yes, plant them ahead of the game, 3, 6, and 9 months ahead, because look at this. Look at the slide. For June, the Entrepreneur Magazine said, which of course, imagine this, you in Entrepreneur Magazine, yes, you want to be. Their June issue, the production deadline is March. The June issue, the writer's deadline is January. That is 6 months ahead. And on top of that, you're talking to them a little bit earlier. So remember, 3, 6, and 9 months ahead. Entrepreneur said it. That's the point. Now, here's the thing. No matter what the media asks you, I want you to say yes. I want you to just say yes, no matter what they ask you. Like my speaker who said yes to National Hot Dog Month. Like me who said yes to another Dallas TV station, funny enough, actually reached out to me when the largest ad agency in Dallas was fired because they made a racist comment. And the producer who knew me from other interviews said, Jill, you wrote a book on publicity. This is bad publicity. Will you talk to us about that? The truth is, I was teaching my virtual publicity course that day. I hadn't read the news. I didn't know what the story was. He sent me a link. I read it. I commented on it, and away we went. The point is that when he said, can you talk about this? I said yes. I want you to keep saying yes, my friends, because that yes will lead you to the power of magnetizing and monetizing and multiplying your message so that the rest of the world will know who you are, can say yes to you, can book you to speak, can engage with you, and be the power of your, shall we say them, army of wonderful people who will be spreading the news about you. Because if you want more speaking engagements, publicity is going to help you. And what I've done, my friends, is, picture this, imagine this, an opportunity to have a system to get your publicity out there in a no-nonsense kind of way. So what I did was I created a virtual, live, interactive publicity course with me. What does that mean? From your own home in Zoom, we will do a course that's small group, where you're going to get personalized attention. We're going to craft 3 documents. We're going to actually get it done in the course, and I'm going to spill all the secrets so that you can have the right way to do your publicity and get it done effectively. Really, no nonsense, no kidding. We're rolling up our sleeves and getting it done. And I'm going to do it so that you have templates that you can use all the time, and that you can have a 30, 60, and 90-day system for any speaking engagement, for any activity, so that your name gets in the news and multiplies it, and that you're speaking, that people will say, I've heard of you somewhere. That's from your publicity. So I'm going to make it really easy and accessible for you, and we're going to get it done quickly and effectively. So here's the thing, that, because we've all gone virtual, and I don't have anymore the expenses of hotel rooms and flying around to do this course live, which I actually did. Now I've done it virtually, and the course was over $1,000 before. And now, because frankly, I've saved a lot of money on expenses. I'm going to pass that savings to you. And now it's only $197. My super pandemic recovery pricing, my friends. You pick the date that works for you, and how you register is you go to publicitycrashcourse.com. You enter the promo code Stay Visible. That's all lowercase and it's case sensitive. And you pick a date. Pick a date that works for you. So excited to be with you. You can also schedule time to connect with me. Happy to help you in any way I can in the area of publicity. We'll post in the chat how you can connect to me and schedule some time. And literally, let me just say to you, we've never offered the course at this kind of pricing. Come on in. It's the perfect time. You're going to really get your publicity done and do it the right way so that it's replicatable and systematic ongoingly. I want you to speak. I want you to get out there. I want you to create an impact and have influence. I know as a speaker, you know how to do that. You know that making a difference will make a difference in others' lives. And I'm going to help you do that. I'm going to support you to be the star that you are. And my friends, your message matters. I look forward to seeing you in the news.
All right. Thanks, Jill. Everything that you give us is so appreciated. It's, it's great stuff, and we could all really benefit from it. All right. So it's time to go on to our next speaker. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you Barney Kramer. Barney is a lifelong entrepreneur, leader, business strategist, and is currently the CEO of Strategic Management Academy. He is the publisher and editor of the American Business Times and founding affiliate of Be Connected. All right, so it's once again, it's my pleasure to introduce Barney Kramer to all of you. Take it away.
Thank you, Brian. Barney Kramer here. It's been a pleasure to be on the show, and I've had 2 hours of some of the greatest presentation. I just love Jill and her presentations, and I love what she's able to do for people. And of course, Fox was one of the first people I met in the business. Luana's here, and I feel like I'm almost at home with a group of friends. So I love to see everybody here. And I also feel like my topic is about co-working spaces. Are they for you or not? Which is sound like a there's a time when I couldn't care less about the topic, and I guess that's the way I'll present what I'm going to present. But I was about as wrong can be about it. And I feel like everybody was brought here to support what I'm going to talk about a little bit this morning, and that is just exactly that. So I want to tell you who I am and a little bit about my life and about the epiphany and about how I got here today and why I'm doing what I'm doing on it. And so I'm an old school guy. I'm old enough to have been around when what you work for, if you were in an office environment, was that day when you got your office all by yourself and over in the corner, and they better walk carefully when they came towards your office. They almost had to have some sort of permission. Do I get to see the boss or don't I get to see the boss? And I really wasn't that arrogant, but there's a certain amount of pride in finally getting to the point where I was the guy and I owned the business. I call the signals and all that kind of stuff. And I also like my privacy. I truly think I'm a loner. But one of the things that I found out over the last few years, I'm not nearly as much of a loner as I thought I was. And of course, the co-working industry taught me that. So about 5 or 6 years ago, when I was going through some transitions and I sold a recruiting and staffing agency that I finally got at the point where I couldn't stand anymore, more of what was going on in the business, I decided that I was going to take the skills that I had acquired and experienced over 50 years, and I was going to apply them to the consulting business and to go out and build my, the remainder of my business life, if you will, sharing what I learned and helping people to, I mean, I've gone through everything. I didn't have Bean One when I started, and then at one time I had an 8-figure business, probably 30 years ago now, I guess. And so I've had some success in business, and it's been a little bit tougher than what I thought it was going to be. I will tell you that building an online business in the last 6 years or so that I've been at it has been the toughest thing that I've done in my business life. And of course, it sounds simple. You just turn a computer on, and bang, everybody could see you can do business anywhere in the world, and it couldn't be further from the truth on it. It takes a lot of savvy. It took some technology skills that I didn't have, period. And I didn't particularly like it. In fact, when I had the staffing company for close to 20 years, I had a executive secretary, and her goal was to, if I needed to do something as simple as send an email and a few of the other things on it, I'd have her go figure out how to do it. And all I wanted was a little 3x5 card that said 1, 2, 3, 4, and I want those instructions. But I didn't want to know why I was doing something. I just want to know which buttons to hit and what sequence on it, because I felt it just wasn't something that struck me. Over the years I've learned that I was far more of a people person than what I thought. And Fox asked, was it Fox that asked a question? I can't remember who it was, but we talked about one of those fears. And I think it was Kim that asked it. And I had to put it down in here. I was a Fuller Brush salesman for roughly 2 months on it. 2 weeks. And the second week, I came to a Thursday, and I had a pretty good territory. And I made more money I imagined you could make in that first week on, and I was about as excited as you can get. But I had been told in my life that I could never be a salesperson. And part of my story is about how I decided nobody was going to tell me what I could or couldn't do. And that was a defiant attitude. But I lady opened the door on it and asked me if I was a Fuller Brush salesman. Well, she caught me flat-footed. I wasn't very glib of tongue, and I'm not so sure I am now, but I certainly wasn't then. And what happened with it, she took a step back and took that door and slammed it about as hard as you could possibly slam that. I was devastated, and I was so devastated. I went back to my car, put my kit and all that stuff in my car, and it took me about 2 weeks to tell my manager that I quit because I was so embarrassed. And it was 5 more years, I think, before I ever stepped into any kind of a sales situation on it. I thought my sales career was, I didn't want to be in sales anyway, but it's all I knew how to do. So, so I came up the hard way, if you will. I got the good fortune to be around a lot of very successful people, and I had some opportunities that was it. I listened to Kim, and I listened to everybody in the show this morning. They all talked about different incidents and circumstances in their life, and they probably like me, I didn't realize what I was doing at the time when I finally made up my mind that nobody was gonna tell me what I could and couldn't do. And it took about 5 years to get that kind of courage up. I was able to begin to move on with my life, and I've applied those skills and been fairly successful at pretty much everything I've done in life. And so when I started trying to build this business, I was shocked. I had come out of headhunting. I was the headhunter in the company. I was placing bank CEOs and chief credit officers and that kind of thing, and everybody else did the staffing people. And what it meant was, in that business, if you had a really good job or a really good candidate, that I could literally call just about anybody. And I don't believe I ever was not able to get I think one of the companies was Bank America, where I could never really, and it had nothing to do with them not being willing to talk to me. I literally couldn't find out who to talk to, and they were that confused at the time. So, so all of a sudden I went from big deal. You're a headhunter now, but you're not now. We're not interested in your consulting service. We've got one. We worked with them for years. And so all of a sudden I can't get through again. I'm starting from ground zero. And so that's when I knew that the old door-to-door way of selling business and making, networking and even some of those things, they couldn't care less about it. Most of them didn't understand what I was talking about. And so I started looking for anything I could possibly do. And I had a lot of good networking skills. I mean, after 40 years plus of business on it, there was, I'd gotten over all those hurdles that I had in the first few years. I mean, it still took the same behaviors. You still have to take that little swallow and says, okay, walk through the door. If that door is going to keep you from making a presentation, you better learn how to get that through the door. And one of the things that I learned was if I could help somebody in some way, somehow. And Luana, you and I shared a good friend that's gone now, Tony Wilkins, and he used to say, "What do you need, and how can I help you?" And I'll tell you, that has become a mantra over the years for me. So. But once I knew I had to make some changes in it, I started going to pitch events, and I knew technology was going to be a part of the future. Everybody was involved in it somehow, some way. And so I'm hoping that I can find some clients out of that, because my list of 30, I think it was about 4,000 CEOs and executives. The last thing they wanted to do was talk to me about, in fact, guys my age, an awful lot of them were retiring, and they still own the business. They just weren't going to work anymore. They were out playing golf with me on Wednesday afternoons or doing something else. And so I had to go back to square one, and I had to find a way to make friends with a lot of new people on it. And of course, these events were pitch events for technology, new applications, new software, were being held at a number of different co-working spaces in San Francisco. I living in Stockton, which is 75 miles or so away. And so that was a regular monthly thing. And I got to meet a ton of people in that, and I didn't know anything. And believe me, thanks to a good friend of mine, George Ferris, he knew a lot of those people and had been working with them for a while. And I still didn't have much use for co-working spaces. It looked to me like a whole bunch of insanity the way they were doing things. I said, I don't know how you could possibly get any work done in here. And the idea of never tell anybody what you're not going to do, because you'd be surprised how often those words come back. And that's really tough to regurgitate them when you got a mouthful of foot. And so I get a call one day from a really nice group of people who had been in one of my entrepreneurs classes, and they said, "Hey, we would like you to come help us get a co-working facility started." And I was about as excited as I was watching the grass grow when I got the call on it, but I needed the business on it, and I don't turn people down if I can help them on it. And they were really great people, and so we got started. And so I ended up writing the business plan for the business and helping them with a lot of things they needed to do to get started on it. And I still didn't have much of an attitude towards it until all of a sudden I started thinking about how my business was, and I started looking at what that business was all about. And one of the things in all those years when I had an office is that I thought I was a loner and I sat in that corner. But as I went back and looked at my own daily workload, I knew I was never in that office more than 45 minutes at a time or a half hour. And I was walking down the hallway, and some of it was just part of leadership and being visible. But the other part of it was I found out I wasn't as much of a loner as I thought I was. And so despite what I had believed in myself for all those years, it wasn't the truth on it. And then I started looking for the positives, and I like to think I have a little bit of an open mind. Sometimes it can be really, really closed, like a bank vault. But and I started looking at those same places where I was going every month, and I said, holy criminy. And you started seeing what I didn't see before, and that was the synergy. And you started understanding that here you have a place that could have, and they run from places that are 3 or 4 or 5,000 square feet to several, 20, 30, 40, 50, what is it? WeWork has got several million square feet of co-working space. But one of the real powers of those particular places is how people can, it's almost like going to a library. If you go to a fairly good sized co-working space that's run properly, not only is there a sense of community in there, but you're going to be able to sit there with people. Some of them own good-sized companies, and they come there and they take their membership desk or their private office, and they may not be there a lot, but they're in and out of that facility. You get a chance to talk with people who literally may even be running a multi-million dollar businesses, and you not know that. I know there's 2 or 3 of them in San Francisco that I've met over time, and they're one of the biggest challenges in a small business, or when you start your business, just like I did, was where do I go for resources? So what I learned is, frankly, that it's one of the greatest resources that you could have out there. I don't have to figure out how can I get through the phone queue, or how can I break the front door to get some help. The guy sitting 2 offices away from me, who I see several times a day coming in and out, and you get to kind of be, it's not you're not serious friends yet, but you've developed some really good friendships, and all of a sudden you find that that's just like a great world of resources. You can find everything to how do you hook your computer up to the wall on there, to how do you put a technology department together. A lot of times the great big businesses out there are, we've got in one of the space I've got, which is now after 2 years, has filled the place up during the pandemic. And of course, the pandemic actually helped become the smart co-working spaces have virtual presentations and virtual shows that they do, which we do on a regular basis at ours. And so the one that I built in Tracy, or helped build in Tracy, is now beginning to expand into the valley here. And that project led to me for one that I'm actually have some ownership interest in San Francisco, and which we were ready to go on it. We've got a team of the CFO, one of the best technology people in the business, some powerful money people to back the projects on it, and all ready to go. And that pandemic hit, and it all went flat. And the other day, the partner client/partner that brought me into the project, and I said, "Can you imagine what would have happened if we'd have got that up and running?" And we were at that stage with, okay, let's make a decision on where we're going to plant this thing at, and then everything locked down. I said, what looked like a disaster to us at the time probably saved us, because I guarantee you we wouldn't have been around. It would have taken 6 months, and we'd have been, we were like every startup. We had some pretty good funding in place, but we weren't going to be able to survive a year in a lockdown situation, because all of what happened in San Francisco, pretty much everybody was forced to stay home. There were offices there. We were right across from Salesforce, and that place was just basically empty for the best part of a year. And so one of the smart things that we learned to do is to become a real resource for that community. So not only can you walk through the front door of a co-working space, be able to be greeted because you're a part of that membership, and people, and the big good managers, good people that are running good operations, they'll make sure that next new member gets introduced to a bunch of people. And all of a sudden you're finding out you got a friend that knows what you don't know. You've got people that love helping each other, and you begin to build a sort of a team of people. You all got your own businesses on there, but it's amazing how much that means to somebody that's looking for, how do I take the next step in my business? And you can't go out and bang on the doors like you could when I was a kid. It was easy. They don't answer the phone. So all of a sudden, because you're in this networking place, it's got a lot of other people that are doing similar things to what you're doing, or maybe they're the resource that you don't have, the CPA, and it's not all technology. There are people in there, we got somebody in there that runs a pretty good sized, and one of them janitorial, kind of a maintenance. It's more than a janitorial, but it's kind of a facilities maintenance company out of there. And so, our belief now has become, in both of those operations, when you walk through that door, what we want to do is to be able to, if we don't have it, we'll help you find it on it, or one of our people will help you find it. But you can walk in that door not knowing much of anything, except I know how to get through the door and sit down at the desk on there, and we'll help you build your business. This fall, we're just about ready to launch a complete training facility, which will be training people, and we got experienced people. That's not people that have been in the business for a long time. We're going to be information technology training and education, which will include a whole lot of things. We're going to be talking about how to start and build your business, and we're going to be able to have a funding place to where we can connect you with the resources we've got. And we've got actually one of the largest angel investment groups in the entire world. That's a connection of ours. And so all of a sudden, my attitude has gone from something I love the place. I love the energy that's there. In fact, I once in a while, the one that I worked on in Tracy, I'll still go down there once in a while and spend a half a day. And if I need an energy boost, that's where I'll get it at. So you don't have to sit there at that desk and wonder, now what am I going to? All of us, if we've been an entrepreneur for any length of time, have those times where we go, oh my goodness, the phone is not ringing, this has not happened, nobody's there, etc. And so, that's really what I've learned out of this last year and a half, 2 years on it. And it's all about networking. And to take just a step backwards, one of the things that I'm doing, and I'm not gonna, I usually talk way too long, so I'm surprised that I'm finishing a little early this morning. But and thanks, Brian. I appreciate very much being on the show and everybody that's here. But one of the things that I am doing now, I just relaunched and revised and did a whole lot of different things to reconstitute it, but an online business newsletter, and that's all we deal about it. We don't advertise the car wash or the dry cleaners or the chef on the corner. It's all about businesses. We publish a number of articles twice a week, and we're sort of developing a persona, if you will. I knew what I wanted to do, but it took us a long time to get to where we're at. And one of those things, we like to call it a pay for play thing. So what we do is we're looking for people who write articles about their particular, and you don't have to be a writer, frankly. It's more about who will provide information and and basically it would be this show, if you want, that's put in a word form, and then at the end of the article, we want you to make an offer on your product, because we have pretty good reason to believe that before the end of the year, we'll have 300,000 or 400,000 people that will be reading that newsletter on a regular basis. We don't charge our readers at all. So my offer to you is, if you'd like to get a copy of that twice a week on it, and there's no obligation, no nothing on it, info at S as in Sam, M as in Mary, R as in Roger, A as in Apple, the number 1.com. And just put, and all you have to do in the subject line, just put ABT, and I'll give you a jingle. I'll send you, I'll reply to you and give you the information on it, and willing to share whatever I can. So, most of you out here are business people just like I am. And one of the things that I did struggle with in the beginning was that it was very expensive, especially 7 or 8 years ago, when different times, different places on it, and I couldn't afford to spend $8,000 or $10,000 a month advertising online. The money that I'd made in past businesses would have went pretty quick if I'd have done that. So I found out that you had to learn how to use social media. You had to find out, and I love the fact that you don't pay, and the way we structured on it, we have a couple of different forms of agreement on it. You can put ads on there, but I would prefer you to actually be a contributor to the site. Give us your expertise. Tell us why what you do is special. Let people learn from you, and that's a great way to give to them first. And if you want to really build your business, find out, like Tony said, how can I help you on it? Start thinking as somebody else instead of yourself. And that was a big attitude change for me, and it was one of the things I had to learn 40 years ago in business. When I started talking to people with the idea in mind that how can I be of service to this person, and then all of a sudden the results that I couldn't get earlier in my life, because I wanted what's in it for me. And if I don't see, this person I'm talking to, if he didn't own some great big business, I wasn't interested in talking to him. Never occurred to me that maybe his best friend owns a great big business. I mean, I never saw past what was in front of me, frankly. And so we're really put on this earth to serve others. And I believe when we do that, what we're going to find is our own success in life, because we take those gifts and aptitudes that we don't get to pick who we are in life. We just but we certainly can form our own lives to be of service to others. And when I finally learned that about 40 years ago, my whole life changed, and I've never struggled I won't say I've never struggled, but I've always had a way. I always knew that if I can find a way to help other people, who was it? Ziegler, I think it was. It said, if you help enough people on it, you get what they want. You'll find that you can. I forget exactly what the quote is, but you'll end up being able to get what you want if you help another people first. First thing is help the other people. So it's been a long time. I got to start polishing my speaking skills and all the rest of it up. But if I keep listening to Brian's show here, Brian, thank you very much for inviting me as a guest. I find I'm so busy, I'm having a problem getting to do what I love doing, and I love talking with other people. I love sharing business ideas and interests. So I want to thank you very much for that. And I'm a little bit early, so if anybody's got a question, I'm happy to answer a question if I can. Luana, I just know you had a question, right? Or maybe I should ask Kim. Who do I ask first? Who wants to go first?
Because I have that email address again. You said info at something, and I didn't get it all.
Yeah, no problem on it. It's hard for me. I don't have my assistant here today. In fact, I'm looking for a virtual assistant to do some shows and things. And regular part of our business. It's info, INFO, at S as in Sam, M as in Mary, R as in Roger, A as in Apple, 1.com. And then put in the subject line, just put ABT, which stands for American Business Times on it. So, and the readership is free on it, whether you ever buy anything or not, that's okay. It's not there for that. It's there. I want people to look at that as, hey, if we go to, because I will have, my intent is for that to become a fairly good sized resource directly. It is already national in scope. We have readers, actually, because of my affiliation with Be Connected, I have some readers just because of that, because they're part of the people that get distribution on in 47 countries on it. So I don't know how many, maybe only one in some of the countries, but it's still, that's a nice number, 47 countries. All right.
You're my birth.
Yeah. Anybody else? Questions? All right. So Kim, thank you. Jill, I don't know if you're on or not, but great presentation. Brian, thank you so much. Appreciate it. So,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Luana. And who else? Deborah Anderson. I don't know. Names I don't know, but you do this every month, Brian?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, cool.
We do every month. And thank you. That's a good point, because that's what I was going to get to. Our next one will be September 9th.
Beautiful.
Same time.
Yeah, and if you're in, and I think you and I have talked already, I finally got something ready that I owed you on it. So I lost my graphics person about the time I volunteered to help you. So something, but I think I've got something to show you that'd be interesting. All right, anyway, everybody have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. And especially we want to thank our speakers, Fox, Kim, Jill, and Barney. And like I said, our next virtual summit for the Public Speakers Association will be September 9th. So watch for the emails.
Super.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Great to see you all.
Thank you.